It is Wednesday. It's 10 after 12. That means it is time for the crossover with Don Taylor and Rick Dhaliwal from Donnie and Dhali on Check TV. You can check them out Monday to Friday, 10 to noon. The crossover is brought to you by Basant Motors, powering the playoff drive, home of over 400 pre-owned vehicles, and where the players go. Donnie, Rick, what's going on, guys?
Utah Grizzlies? Come on. We can do better than that, can't we?
I don't know.
It's been done. It's been done in Vancouver. It's been done in Utah and Memphis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
twice.
That's
Get
definitely
creative,
not happening.
guys.
Except what's your submission, Rick? What would you call him?
We had what do we have? Donnie and I had one this morning.
Well, you like the Shakers.
Salt Lake City Shakers.
You know what? I don't hate it. Am I missing something? What's a shaker? Just like a mover and a shaker?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm old, so I'm old, as you guys know, and I talk about that a lot. But it's so boring. I get it. But Salt Lake Eagles, which has been proposed out there, there's some history there. Eagles hasn't been used, I think maybe a long time ago in the NHL, but not for a long time. Used to be a team called the Salt Lake City Golden Eagles in the old Western League that I grew up with. That's not bad. Stags has been mentioned.
Yep.
I like the Stags.
What was the other one?
And the Yeti. Another one.
Yeti, that feels like ripping off the Kraken.
Yeah, but
I don't like that.
How about this one for
what
you?
we said.
How about this one for you? A tribute to Utah's pioneer history, but also a tribute to the way we talk about hockey teams today, the Utah Wagon. Tell me that's not cool.
I actually kind of like that. The Wagons?
Yeah, the Wagon.
That's
No,
not
just
bad.
the Wagon.
That's not bad.
Right?
I'm ripping it off for tomorrow's show.
They're a wagon.
That's good.
What about the Rattlesnakes?
That's good.
The Utah Rattlesnakes?
I don't hate it.
That's pretty good.
Are rattlesnakes big in Utah?
I literally just searched Utah animals, and it was on the list.
Oh.
So there we go. Apparently they are.
Safe bet.
I just think
there's been a lot of submissions that we can't talk about regarding what you could call a team in Utah and their history.
Hey guys, if they do move to Salt Lake City next year, tonight could be the last game against the Coyotes for the Canucks.
Yeah,
a long and storied rivalry.
A video tribute for the Coyotes tonight.
Oh my God!
Although it's one of the things we're hearing from this reporting from Frank Saravalli and Elliot Friedman is that part of this deal might be, okay, we're going to take the Coyotes to Salt Lake for next year, but Alex Morello, don't worry, you build that arena and we're going to give you another team back. And look, I can understand a little bit wanting to go back to Phoenix, but how do you go back with this owner who's just been so up and down and so all over the place in his time with the team?
Yeah, I just the thought of them possibly moving to Utah and then an expansion team being going back to Phoenix, coupled with or tripled with a team maybe back in Atlanta. I can't wrap my head around that. Been there, done that.
So the Coyotes have missed the playoffs 11 of the past 12 years, right? And so you're going to bring them back in a couple of years or whatever and give them an expansion team. Like, really? Yeah.
It's such a big television market. It's such a vibrant market. There's
really
so many reasons why. And honestly, there was a time in the late 90s, the early 2000s, when that team was located in downtown Phoenix before the exodus to Glendale, where there was no reason to think that this wouldn't be viable for the next 20 years. It's just things went off the rails due to a silly arena deal and mismanagement over multiple decades.
Yeah, and Thomas, I'm sure you've been to Glendale but for people who haven't, it's way out there. And I remember the first time I traveled there, it was, and I guess the thought was that there would be development there, but then 2008 hit and that financial crisis, and there wasn't development. So when you travel, you're going through farmland. Mm-hmm. You've done that drive, Thomas. It's
many times,
and it's just way out there. And people go, well, what are you talking about? It works for the Cardinals. Well, that's the NFL, and that's 8-9 times a year. It's completely different. And I know it was cheap, so I get the attraction there, but it just wasn't well thought out.
Yep.
Can't have a suburban barn. 25 years of hockey history has proven to us the suburban barn doesn't work. I think got to have it downtown.
And I think, it's not as if, for as much as people, we lump all the Sun Belt teams together, right? Like you look at the culture that's around the team in Nashville, the success that Dallas has, especially when they're winning. You throw Florida in the mix now, Tampa, it can work. It's just been so incredibly mismanaged. So I don't have a problem necessarily with them going back there, but again, as I said, going back with that owner just doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. So, all right, as you said, Rick, maybe the last meeting between the Canucks and the Arizona Coyotes tonight at Rogers Arena, and Rick Tocchet wouldn't confirm it, said he was going to talk to Ian Clark, but it looked like based on practice that Archer Silovs might get the start in net. Of course, he's 3 for 3 this year, 3 games, 3 wins, rebounded from a slow start against the Vegas Golden Knights. What do you think about the Canucks? Donnie, we'll start with you, possibly rolling with Silovs for a second straight start here.
Well, I put a lot of stock into Rick Tocchet's interviews, and you can just tell most of the time when he really likes a player. And it seems that, and he talks a lot about Artur Silovs or Shilovs looking big in the net, and not letting bad moments get to him, like the other night with the 2-0 deficit. He clearly really likes him. I'm not saying he doesn't like Casey Smith, but clearly right now he's more of a fan of Shilovs, and I put a lot of stock in that. And it's hard to agree with him. He's a battler, and I think Tocchet likes that at any position. Forward, defense, and even goalie. So I'm not surprised to be going with Shilovs tonight.
When I checked in with Silovs around Christmas time was when he was in Abbotsford. Someone told me he was having consistency issues, and he wasn't ripping it up this year. And I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. You guys remember he let that goal from center ice? It was on the road.
Yes. Yeah.
You remember? Hey, credit to the kid for coming in. And you know what? So look at the dynamics of what's happening. If Silovs comes in and shows them the rest of the way, because I'll tell you something else that Tocchet said yesterday that was interesting, is they may keep 3 goaltenders for the playoffs. And so if you keep Silovs around, does that hurt Abbotsford, in their chances? Mm-hmm. I know they got Topopolio there in Abbey, and they got Sawchuk in there as well.
Who is that? They got a new guy in the crease there, Rick?
No,
anyways,
do both.
Look,
do both. You messed up both names.
Sawchenko.
Be pretty sick if they had Sawchuk in the minors.
Sawchuk.
Hey,
Terry Sawchuk.
One of the great goaltenders of all time.
I was in the
Man,
neighborhood.
what depth!
I was in the neighborhood. Okay, will you let me finish my thoughts, Thomas?
You see what I have to deal with every day?
Sorry. I need you to say the current starter in Abbotsford one more time.
Tolapolio.
Isn't that the sea monster that lives in Lake Okanagan?
There's a vaccination for that.
Okay, will you let me finish,
Yeah,
Thomas?
I'm sorry.
And quit cackling. So listen, if that could hurt the Abbotsford playoff chances if you keep him up here with the Vancouver in the playoffs. But anyways, what does it do in the offseason? Silovs, is he going to show enough here down the road? No, Donnie, is he going to show enough down here, down the road here, so the Canucks say that they don't have to go out and, re-sign who's probably not happy not playing right now. So who's the backup next year? This is
DeSmith is a UFA, right? So that maybe that plays into this, right?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So does it roll into whether you bring DeSmith back? And, Silovs, he's got a chance to impress the brass here right down the stretch here. And this is all boding well for him.
With Silovs, Rick, do you have any sense of whether or not the club would be prepared to make him the backup next season, or if they'd prefer to see him play 45 games?
I fully expect them to check into what it would cost to re-sign DeSmith as a UFA. You know what? And I don't see DeSmith taking a pay cut. And, he's posted. I know in the last couple of weeks he struggled. He got a lot of heat from that LA game. He got a lot of heat for that Minnesota game. He got a lot of heat in the market. But I still say his overall body of work in Vancouver, veteran goaltender, $1.8 million, he did good. And, he gave the Canucks some good nights when Demko needed the rest. Demko was hurt. I still like them taking the veteran backup route on in goal. They tried, who, a couple of years ago. Didn't work out. Put them on waivers. They spent less than $1 million on the backup goaltender, and it didn't work.
He means Spencer Martin, but like, when did Spencer Martin become Voldemort?
So, yeah, I said, I said the guy that was here when they, it didn't work. It didn't work. You got to be honest. It didn't work.
You make it sound like he was a household name.
You know who?
You make respect.
You make it sound like he tried to kill Harry Potter.
Hey. So we're in Vancouver. It's a hockey market, and we don't know who is, who? Come on.
When it's Spencer
Martin,
Martin?
we're not in Columbus.
Sorry, I knew. I picked it up immediately. But I think both our co-hosts were legitimately like, huh?
Yeah,
Tolopilo?
So you didn't know I was talking about? Come on, Donnie.
Well, no, there were a couple people in the studio here that were wondering who you were talking about.
No, you guys should have known. Thomas, you picked up on it, right?
I did. I knew exactly
Let's
who you
get
meant.
back to the Abbotsford goalgetters.
Yeah, thank you. But anyways, I fully expect them to take a run at trying to re-sign Casey DeSmith, 100%.
Looks like, so at morning skate today, and I wasn't there, but watchful eyes in the stands. Kevin Woodley, thank you. Let me know that Neil Zaman, Mark Friedman, and Noah Juleson, along with Vasily Podkolzin, skated hard following the morning skate, which implies to me that Lindholm may, in fact, return this evening. Gentlemen, even before the injury, what were you seeing from Lindholm? What do you want to see from him before the playoffs start to sort of have confidence that he can make an impact for this group come the postseason?
Can it come down to just goals and assists and just a little bit more offensive production? I know that's really, really simple, but I'm sorry. And I know they're playing mean-nothing games. I'm looking at what Kuzmenko. Why did I say Podkolzin? You got me all rattled here with the you-know-who thing.
Yeah.
What Kuzmenko's doing in Calgary, and I can't help it but strip it down to goals and assists and points for Lindholm.
Yeah.
That and just, I mean, I know he's won 60% of his faceoffs with a bad wrist, and that's commendable, right? But I just want to see more production offensively, and I want to notice him more. I don't know. Is that asking too much? Especially, this is what I don't get when it comes to Lindholm. And look, I'm not a doctor, as you know. I don't know who was, but he has a bad wrist. I understand that, but there's so much going on. There's so much at stake for him personally. He's going to be a UFA. We heard about him. Rick, you talked about him turning down $8 million a season with Calgary. How much is this costing him? So it's not just it's not just about the Canucks doing well if Lindholm plays well. It's Lindholm doing well financially if Lindholm plays well. So just more production, obviously, and just get noticed out there. They gave up a lot for him.
They gave up a lot for him.
And I know they got rid of Kuzmenko's salary, but they still gave up a lot for him.
Donnie, when they gave up what they gave up for Lindholm, it was the belief that internally, are we okay with this being a rental? And the answer was yes. Mm-hmm. They are okay with Lindholm being a rental. That's the high gamble stakes. Okay, you re-sign him, great. If not, he's a rental. That's it. Obviously, you want to see more production. I think they traded for him to be a difference maker in the top six. That's not happening. He's a third-line center. And, could he have been a winger in the top six? I don't think so. He wants to play center. He's going to come back tonight as a centerman. That's what he said in his interview yesterday. He's not as comfortable on the wing. So did the Canucks bring him into town? Did they think he was going to be a centerman or a winger? The bottom line is he's a centerman, and they're strong up the middle in the top six up the ice. So he is what he is. You hope to heck he can be some sort of a difference maker. They love the face-off circle, the wins. They love the defensive play, but boy, oh boy, you like to see more offense. And as Donnie mentioned on the show today, Andrei Kuzmenko, he's red hot, guys. What's he got, Donnie? 19 points in 24 games in Calgary. That's not the end be all, but I mean, that guy's producing for Calgary. This guy has not produced at that rate in Vancouver.
Well, and to your point about needing to see more offense from go ahead, Donnie.
No, the end be all. I'm sorry. It was good. No, I don't want to focus on that. But again,
Yeah.
here's what I don't get. Like you say, he wants to be a top six. The plan was for him to be
sure.
top six. So who exactly was moving to the wing there? I mean, help me out. I'm not doing a great job of analyzing things.
When you
here,
give
always.
up, Donnie,
was Pedersen moving to the wing? Was Miller
they
moving
did that
to the
for
wing?
a game.
They
Right?
did.
They did.
They did.
Moved,
Well,
they moved Pedersen to the wing.
with the Lotto line.
Yeah.
Yes, but what was the plan when he was first acquired? Jim Rutherford talked about him playing mostly on the wing in Carolina.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And that's gone out the door. And if that's gone out the door, that means he's bottom six.
Yep.
I think.
And you don't give up a first-round pick and prospects for a bottom six guy. I'm sorry.
Especially a
And
bottom
they did
six
that.
rental.
And I think it's going to be tough.
Yes,
Also,
yes.
even you put him on the third line, but that once upon a time that would have meant, hey, you're playing with Conor Garland and maybe Dakota Joshua on the third line. Those guys have moved up now and are doing really, really well, especially Garland in the top six. So it's going to be a tough spot for Lindholm, right? If he's between
Mikheyev,
Ilya
and Suter.
Mikheyev and Pius Suter or something, I think that can be a really good defensive line. But I don't know. Like, that's asking a lot if you're asking Elias Lindholm to be kind of the offensive spark plug on a line like that going into the playoffs, I think.
Good point. What?
Thank you.
It's a good point.
Couple good points.
But on Conor Garland, I mean, what a remarkable night for Conor Garland Monday night at Rogers Arena. You know, the shirts from JT Miller, getting his name chanted, and just like the turnaround from September to Monday night. I'm not sure the last time we've seen kind of that type of journey over the course of a season for a player like Conor Garland's had this year.
Yeah. Although Dakota Joshua wasn't exactly out of the doghouse at the start of the
Höglander?
year. And look what's happened
Höglander, too.
with him. I love that. Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Great point. You guys are making good points today, as always. But yeah, I love that night. It was to be at the arena on that night would have been so special with three players making history for the Canucks. What I really stuck out for me that night was afterwards and just how emotional Conor Garland got on the on ice interview done by Kate Pedersen afterwards. It was clear that when he heard his name being chanted, he got really emotional and choked up, and maybe he was thinking about how far he's come, not just this season, but going back to being a fifth-round draft choice and being undersized and all that, and all of a sudden he's got people chanting his name. The one thing with Conor Garland for me that's really stuck out, other than that emotional moment the other night, but he has become, and you guys disagree with me if you want, but I didn't see this coming. He's an engine. He can drive a line, and I think he did, with all due respect, with Bluger and Joshua. And I talk about like Lindholm getting noticed, and you got to do that. And Garland does that game in, game out, going to the front of the net. He really drives, can drive this team.
He goes to the dirty areas. Look at his 2 goals the other night. Then he was a screen on the Hughes goal. This is the smallest player on the ice. If the smallest player on the ice is going to the front of the net like that, there is no excuse for any other player on that team not to go to the front of the net.
Yeah, Rick Huey reminds me of is Cliff Ronning.
Cliff Ronning.
I was saying that to you earlier today.
Rick got it in
had a
first, Donnie.
submission.
He beat you to the punch.
Oh, he did. All right.
Cliff Ronning.
Hey, we had a Cliff Ronning. He reminds me of Cliff Ronning a lot. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Yep.
And guys, go back to the first game of the season when the trade request. Let me tell you again, it wasn't a trade request, and the agent has made that very, very, very clear. There was no trade request. In fact, that's his new agent. Going back to last summer with his old agent, never in the summer did he tell his old agent that he wanted out. So, it was just a situation where this club and this new regime has been trying to get rid of that contract since the day they got there. Since the day they got here. But I don't think it was a trade request. I think it was just, hey, if you guys want to move them and the salary, we can help you guys. That's basically what it was.
Love the Cliff Ronning comparison just because I'm always happy to be reminded of Cliff Ronning. I'd say he was a little more elusive in open ice, right? Garland does a little bit more lower in the zone. And just want to shout out this. Age 34, 35, 36, 37 seasons for Cliff Ronning. 62, 62, 54, and 48 points in the dead puck era. Can we just put some respect on that
He had a great
gentleman's
career.
name?
Over 1,000.
Massively underrated.
Over 1,100 career NHL games. What a career for Cliff Ronning. What a note to end it on.
A proud former Coyote.
And
Yeah,
look
that's true.
at his
That's
numbers. Well, that's true. And look at his numbers in New West with the Bruins at Queen's Park. Unbelievable.
Don't get him started on
Hey.
New West. You'll be here for another
All right.
hour.
We got-
Him and Brian Noonan.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
I'm telling you, him and Brian Noonan.
Oh, and that other
And,
guy
who's
who
the
can't be
Blues coach
named, right?
And you know who, right?
And you know who.
Berube.
You know who.
Berube. It was Noonan, Berube, and Ronning. I'll tell you that much. Queen's Park, those guys ripped it up.
Cooper
All right,
Cooper
we got to
Rolls.
go. Our producer's going to lose it on us here, guys. Thank you, Donnie and you know who. Great work on the
Wrap her
show
up.
today. We'll talk next week, guys. Thanks for doing it.
Nice guys.
All right, that is Don Taylor and Rick Dhaliwal.